There's a seat over here, Jim. There's one over here. Okay, well, good evening, everybody. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and if you all stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Aaron, do you mind taking the roll, please?
Councilmember Gray.
Here.
Councilmember Schmidt.
Here.
Councilmember Dietrich.
Here.
Councilmember Pointer.
Here.
Councilmember Sherburne.
Here.
Okay, everybody's here, and before we get started, we have two students here tonight from East Buchanan. I bet you didn't know we were gonna put you on the spot. If you wouldn't mind each standing and telling us your name and where you're from and what you plan to do after graduation.
My name is Kenny Conrad. I'm from Winthrop, Iowa, and I'm gonna be a farmer.
Okay, thanks for you.
I'm Weston Moses. I'm from Winthrop, Iowa to go to East Buchanan and I plan on going to Iowa for business.
Okay, awesome. Well, welcome, and we'll give you an opportunity to ask some questions at the end, okay? All right. Are there any changes to the agenda for tonight? Hearing none, with that, I'll ask for an approval to the agenda. So approve.
I'll second it.
And this is for the consent agenda.
No.
Or for the whole agenda, excuse me, for the whole agenda, I apologize. Okay. Next, we have our public input period. Oh, motion, sorry, Linda,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Mary Ann,
Yes.
and Brian.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, thank you. Public input period.
Can I stop 1 second?
Yeah,
Does the consent agenda include?
it includes a whole agenda. Is there something you want to do?
Yes.
You did want to.
Yes, I want to be on the agenda.
Can I go back and do that?
Yeah, it's a friendly amendment, Bill, are you acceptable to the friendly amendment?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I would like to table 6.2, update on airport hangar lease with Jim Hill. I had talked to him, he had called me and he said he's not going to be here. And I think he should be here before we talk about his airport lease, and he's not here.
Why, I don't know if we should table it just for the simple fact, all you're gonna do is give us information for the time being.
I'm prepared to tell you what your options are. I wouldn't tell you what to do because I don't vote, but I can do that. I can do that in my city attorney report. You wouldn't be able to take any action on anything. You could take it off the agenda. That would be one way to do it.
Yeah, could you take it off the
And
agenda?
then I'll just do it in my, give you what I know from the report, and then next meeting you can choose what action you want.
Sounds fair.
Is that okay?
You know, it's heard my recommendations to have any time to think about it either, so.
So then you need the motion.
No,
We
we,
need a motion to take that off.
Okay.
I need to take that off the agenda 6.2.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Linda,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Bill,
No.
Joe,
Yes.
Mary Ann.
No.
Okay. We'll strike 6.2 and Jim will talk to us after. All right. Next, we will go to public input period. If you would like to speak to the council, please stand at the podium and state your name and address for the record before proceeding with your comments. Individual remarks are limited to 5 minutes, with the overall public input period limited to 30 minutes. Under Iowa Open Meetings Law, the city council can take no formal action on comments given during the public input period which do not relate to action items on the agenda. Is there anyone who would like to speak to the council tonight?
Jamie Vasky, 205 Winslow Drive here in Manchester. And my email is on the agenda, so everybody's had a chance to see it, so I'm not just gonna read that verbatim, but I'm gonna reiterate some of the things that we were kind of discussing in that. In the agenda here, it says the city staff's recommendation to install the stop sign at the intersection coming from Crescent Drive as it's warranted for managing turning traffic. Our thing is that that stop sign that's there, that intersection has managed itself the way it is for as long as that stop sign's been there. There have been no incidents in that intersection. I think they look back to 10 years and there's been nothing and it's been fine the way it is. Plus traffic already from Crescent Drive is slowing to turn either left or right. So that's already kind of managed by having that T intersection. That neighborhood I've been a part of for over 20 years. My grandparents retired to that neighborhood. My mom and dad built a house in that neighborhood in 2007. And then when my grandma passed away, we liked that neighborhood. We bought my grandma's house and, you know, back in the day when that development was first developed, it was a place where farmers went to retire. And we always made the joke, you could tell when Wheel of Fortune was over because that's when they all went out for their nightly walks. You could set a watch to it. But it's not that neighborhood anymore. It is definitely a lot of younger families moving in there, which is good, but on any given night, there could be a dozen kids in that neighborhood out in the street, you know, and that's not just the people back in there. I see families coming from the 100 block of Winslow. I see people coming from Crescent Drive and Race Court up there, just because it's a nice little track. It's almost like a track up there to walk around for people. So, you know, kids are out there on bicycles, scooters, you name it. So just a nice place, and that's kind of why we like it, and that's why we're trying to, we already have the eastbound traffic uncontrolled speed-wise, and like I said, I'm not looking to control, you know, traffic, I'm looking for speed, because, and I said it in the email, I understand that 25 looks fast when you're standing right there, and they may only be going the speed limit, but there's some that are definitely going faster than the 25. So that's kind of why we want to control the traffic and especially not take away the one that is there, because now you've opened it up to both sides. When I saw this agenda, I had two things I wanted to do last Friday. One was kind of present some facts for you guys or kind of have some notes for you guys. And the other one was to call Dan Glue, who just moved into the property where the stop sign adjacent to the one that's already there would go. He's already got a fire hydrant, a pole, and his mailbox in his yard. And he beat me to it. He called me and said, what can I do to support you? So, you know, he just moves into the neighborhood. He's looking to support us. And I explained to him what I was wanting to do. I didn't want there to be hard feelings about possibly adding something else to his property. But he said, do I want something else in my yard? No, but what's more important to me is the kids' safety. So I also asked our other neighbors.
1 minute.
Okay. I asked our other neighbors as well, and nobody was against it. You know, they're not as passionate or feel as strongly because they have such short distances of that intersection. They don't have the runway running east and west like we do where people can pick up speed. So I guess I'll leave you here. As a parent, just want to be proactive versus reactive. I don't want there to be an incident. You know, we've already kind of put furniture in our backyard to keep the kids as much in the backyard, but anybody who's been around kids or had kids, they're there 1 second, they're gone the next. So, just trying to be proactive and don't want an incident to happen for us to realize we should have done something. And, you know, if there's a collision at Crescent Drive in Winslow, you know, you can fix a vehicle, you can repair a vehicle, but can't replace a child. So, thanks for your consideration and, have a good night.
Thank you, Jamie. Is there anybody else who would like to speak to the council?
Brian Williams, 144 Crescent Drive. I'm here for regular agenda item 6.1, just kind of want to belly off of him, so that's why I'm going next. I understand it's a T intersection, so that's kind of the idea. Crescent needs to yield to Winslow. I get that, but to me, this area, we need to be more focused on the pedestrians. Because my biggest concern is there's no sidewalks there, so pedestrians have to use the streets. So anytime coming off the left, my biggest thing is the eastbound, and that's where the stop sign is now. Causes drivers to have to slow down, which is a good thing. You take that away, there's a house right there tucked in the corner. Usually there's a truck parked in the driveway too. So by the time they see a kid coming off of Crescent Drive, it's gonna be too late. So that's what concerns me. So please don't remove that stop sign that's there now. As far as adding another one, making a three-way stop, that doesn't bother me a bit. So I just wanna belly off what he had to say and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Brandon. Anyone else tonight? Hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public input period. And we will go to our consent agenda. First item, I need a motion to approve the minutes from the August 26th city council meeting. Next, I need a motion to adopt resolution 94, approving the bills and the expense approval report. Next, I need a motion to acknowledge the receipt of the city reports from the airport committee minutes, the monthly activity report for revenue, expenses, and the balance report, as well as the Board of Adjustment meeting minutes. Next, we need a motion to approve a liquor license. It's a renewal application for a Class C retail alcohol license for the Gathering Place. Next, I need a motion to approve the Snow Pioneer Snowmobile Club. It's a DOT application to perform work within the state highway right-of-way for Snow Pioneer Snowmobile Club. They want to do their usual thing. Okay. Next, I need a motion to approve the commercial incentive program parking lot assistance application from Bobin Tire.
I want to make sure, council's, the application itself looks a little funny because it looked like they're asking for $35,000. That's what their cost is. Yeah, grant application is only good for $10,000. So it's a 50-50 match up to $10,000.
And they have to submit receipts
Right.
before we pay.
So it's a reimbursement of that.
But it was approved by the
Board, or,
the committee.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, right. Next, I need a motion. Or do we have to take action on this? I get them
No,
really
you just
confused.
review the
and
decision.
We're just reviewing the decision, for Board of Adjustments request from Andrea Bosek for property located at 147 West Butler Street. And, that was to reduce front yard setbacks.
Yeah.
You want to talk about
Basically,
it?
she's doing an addition onto her house. She's not encroaching any closer to the front yard setback than what she has already got with the house and the deck. But because it's not meeting that 25-foot setback with the new addition, she's not being further out of compliance. It's just she's meeting that front with that addition.
Next, we have the same thing, review a decision by the Board of Adjustment for a request from Sarah Cole for property located at 163 Prospect Street. Do you want to speak to that one again?
Yep, Miss Foley is replacing the front stoop on her house. The stoop was starting to sag into the foundation. They've got that removed. They would like to put an 8x10 deck on the front of the house in order for them to have a little bit of space for people when they come up to the house. It does, again, encroach into the front yard setback. With the houses in that area, a lot of them are less than the 25-foot setback requirement. There is an exception allowance in the ordinance that allows for us to measure off of 300 feet of the built-up properties in the neighborhood and base the front yard setback on the averages of those houses within the 3 yards. Board of Adjustment reviewed the request and approved the 8-foot by 10-foot deck to be added to the house.
All right. And then we have a review of the decision on the Board of Adjustments for request by Will and Sheila Weststraight for property located at 213 East Union Street. That's that big house
Yeah.
that they're redoing.
The Weststraits are renovating that house and garage. The back garage is off the alley. It is close to the property line on the west side. They are looking to redo that single stall garage with the carport, turn into a 3 stall garage, and it is being attached to the house at the breezeway. And as it's being attached to the house, that turns that into part of the primary principal structure. Principal structures are supposed to have a 30-foot rear yard setback. This would be 7 foot off the rear property line because it is attached. If it was detached, it could be within 10 feet of the alley. But Board of Adjustment did review the request. Again, as with all of the Board of Adjustment requests, notice was sent out to property owners within 200 feet of the property. They have had an opportunity to go to the Board of Adjustment to their public hearing. We received no requests or comments opposed to the request.
And then finally, we have a review for the decision of a decision by the Board of Adjustment for the request from Bowman Tire and Automotive for the property located at 905 East Main Street. And that's for a sign.
The conditional use permit, because it is an electronic messaging sign, it is required to have a conditional use permit, and therefore it went before the Board of Adjustment. Property owners are again notified within 200 feet of the request. Met with Bowman's regarding the sign because it is electronic. In LED, there are brightness issues. The first couple nights, we worked with them to get those reduced. So it didn't light up the entire neighborhood. It it was a little bright.
It was a little bright.
Yeah, so, right now they are working with us to modify it, you know, they've got some adjustments they can do to it. But the last week, what they've done is they've turned it off at 8 p.m. and turned it back on at 6 a.m. But they will continue to try to dim it down, so it's not any different than any other electronic messaging sign we have in town.
All right, with that, I will ask for a motion to approve the consent, motion and second to confirm the consent agenda, and then I will have questions.
Make the motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. Joe,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mary Ann,
Yes.
and Linda.
Yes.
All right, next we have a public hearing. Gonna open it up at 5:15. This is this is the date and time for public hearing on the proposed sale of the following described property. It's our 108 Gay Street, correct?
Correct.
And, I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys speak to it first, and then we'll open it up to the public.
Basically, this is a property we acquired through the chapter 657A, it's an abandoned nuisance property. The courts awarded the property to us, we have placed it up for sale. We received 2 quotes or bids for it. The high bid was from S&B Promotions. Council accepted or acknowledged the receipt of the bids, and today is the date for the public hearing on the proposed disposal of the property.
Is there anybody from the public that would like to comment on the sale of this property? Hearing none, at 5:16, I'm going to close the public hearing. And I will entertain a motion to approve resolution 95, approving the sale of property at 108 Gay Street.
I so approve.
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion or questions from council? All right, Linda?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Mary Ann?
Yes.
All right. Next, our regular agenda item, we have the stop sign request. And I guess we've heard from the public, and anybody have any questions on this, and what have the city staff thought?
So we have reviewed this because it was a request that had come before us. The traffic counts at that intersection are below 300 vehicles per day.
Okay,
So that is below the threshold that would require any sort of traffic control. So there wouldn't necessarily be a stop sign at that intersection. Not sure how the stop sign was placed there, was there before I got here. My guess is when that subdivision started being developed, a request was made to place a stop sign there, maybe to slow the contractors down as they were coming through. In the last 8 years, that subdivision has built out. And so we have quite a bit of changeover in that neighborhood. The neighborhood has transitioned again, as they noted that, the families have gotten younger, a lot more younger kids running around. When we went up, and looked at that intersection, the thought process under the uniform traffic code is the stop sign would not be stopping traffic on the throughway on the one side. When you have a T intersection, because you have a turning movement, you would stop them at that location so they can check both ways before they make the decision to turn. So that's where staff is looking at. That is the appropriate place for the stop sign to go if the council wishes to put the stop sign in there. If the council wishes to make those changes, we don't have to make any changes. Or if the council wishes or desires to put a stop up there, we can do that as well. But the traffic counts do not warrant it. I understand that there is an issue with perceived issue with speed up there, and that may be an enforcement issue. That is by no means the longest stretch. It's 3 blocks long. We have Fairview that is much longer. You down Union Street, Howard Street. We have some other blocks that are longer too. Part of the challenge is you get down Union Street, we have a lot of single stall garages where people are parking in the street. So they naturally slow down because the street's a little bit more congested. In this neighborhood, they have wider driveways, bigger garages. And so there's not as many cars parked in the street, slowing things down. So again, it may be a perception issue. One of the things staff is doing right now, we have the traffic counter speed sign down on South Fifth Street. because we are reevaluating West Marion and South Fifth intersection. So the way that is controlled with different traffic patterns with the industries and stuff. That'll be finished up this week. Excuse me. The sign comes back in, we'll recharge it, and we are planning to place it up on Winslow Drive, just down from that Crescent Drive intersection, so we can get the traffic speeds, what the average speed is, what the traffic counts are, timing when things are going through there. So we have a better idea of what is going on up there. And then at that point, we'd like to bring information back to the council and they can make an informed decision. As far as if we want to add more stop signs or what. It might be just fine for us to leave it the way it is right now. In any case, if we were to change something, we'll have to do it by resolution. And so staff would have to prepare the resolution for the council to take action.
I would like to see that data first. I'd like to see what they pick up on that. I certainly understand their problem because I do not want any kids hurt. But I think we have to look at it in terms of what the counts are, what the speeds are. I would also like to encourage them to, put some people up there and let them put some tickets out, because I think that that's gonna slow people down as much as anything. If they know that tickets are available and will be used. I just think it's important that we let our people know that. Do I want to give tickets to people? No, but I also think that it sends a message, and I think this is a place where maybe a message needs to be sent. So I personally would like to see those two things happen before we make another decision on this.
There's been a lot of conversations, Street Superintendent, Jason Haight and I met with 8 people up there Friday afternoon and talked our way through it again. We had a nice conversation. It is a low volume location. It is 2 local streets that serve, we got 20 residential houses to the west there that have to go in and out of that intersection to get in and out of that subdivision. There's a lot of people and a lot of history right there. So the change is a little bit unnerving for some too, because if you pull a stop sign that's been there since the day it was built, that's changed too. So I can appreciate the neighborhood up there and what they're going through and wanting to slow people down, and definitely concerned with safety of kids. But we do have a lot of areas in town too that we don't have traffic control, stop signs, yield signs. They're not designed to be used for speed control. You typically use your warrants, traffic counts to do that, so.
If I can just throw out my 2 cents a little bit on this, that makes it a little unique from some other places, is the fact that one of those streets doesn't have sidewalks, and they got lots of little kids, and the only place they can go is in the street. So that's another issue that we're dealing with. It's unique compared to those other places, so, yeah. Thank you. So, okay.
Are there other questions the council wants me to dig into, or things you would like me to look at as we're trying to research this intersection?
Hypothetically, if a person did turn it into a 3-way stop, I'm just trying to slow people down. I mean, it wouldn't really be a huge expense for the city, would it?
Typically $200 per sign, by the time you put the post in and stuff. But understand, we work on volume.
Yeah.
The number of intersections, and signs last about 15 years before they start to fade to the point where we have to replace them.
Yeah, I talked to some other people that live in the next subdivision back, a couple of different people. And they weren't against even a 3-way stop, but I kind of agree. I'd like to see some of the data come through.
Yeah.
It's weird when the people that actually live there are not against the 3-way stop, so.
Yeah.
Seeing some of the data and seeing what their speeds are through there. But it's amazing, you're around that corner, and I've been through there on the, so you can speed pretty fast and go, oh geez, I'm doing 30, So. I'm doing 25.
It's a hard 25.
Make it 24, Bill, but
That's just it. People get into a comfort. They're thinking about other things, not paying attention. The speed doesn't bother me as much as knowing how many distracted drivers are out there. They're not paying attention, looking at their phone, looking at their next appointment that they have to do, get to. But yeah, it's a tricky one, because at the same token, we need to be careful that we just don't open up where we're gonna put stop signs at every intersection, because you do need to have the traffic flow.
Right.
So I'm understanding that we're gonna wait for some data and we'll go
Yeah,
from there.
we'll come back to the council. Again, next week, we anticipate putting a sign up there, so we can get some traffic counts. We do it 1 week at a time. It goes one direction, it collects the speed and the counts and the time of the day that the cars are coming through. But it's only one way, it doesn't collect both directions. So it'll take us a couple weeks to get both directions.
As far as that intersection, for me personally, I have plenty of kids, as you know. I don't know, like, yeah, I have nothing against getting the data, but I'd like to see what the neighborhood would like to do. Like the neighborhood, if you guys got as much support as you guys have to do one way or another, if we can have a petition, and I feel like do what they think is best in their neighborhood with their children. Just the way I look at it. I mean, the speed's gonna be what it is. I mean,
It's still an enforcement issue.
Yeah.
They'll run through a stop sign or roll through a stop
Yeah.
sign just as much as not pay attention to the speed limit.
Let's see what the data says first.
So what else is- Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, next, we have a motion to adopt resolution 96. And this, it will approve the Dittricks subdivision plat. It's a minor subdivision as defined under Manchester City Code, chapter 170-22. You want to speak to this?
Sure, basically, Mr. Dittrick is looking to combine two lots. This is a 3-lot subdivision that is combining 2 lots, so it turns it into a 2-lot subdivision. There are no additional water or sewer requirements, nothing needs to be done with the street. And by our ordinance, that it's a minor subdivision, just requires approval by the council.
I move to approve resolution 96.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? Linda?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Mary Ann?
Yes.
And Joe abstains, correct? Okay, and then next, I need a motion to approve the payment to Fergram for $24,338.75 for part of the 2024 street improvement project, East Main.
I make a motion to approve payment.
I'll second that.
Any questions? Bill?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Mary Ann?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Brian?
Yeah.
Next, I need a motion to approve pay estimate number 1 in the amount of $48,431.95 for work completed on the Commerce Court Street Extension Project.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Any further questions? Mary Ann?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And Joe?
Yes.
Next, I need a motion to approve payment to Top Grade for pay estimate number 6 in the amount of $119,671.01 for the 2024 East Main Street Improvement Project. And it covers work completed from July 28th through August 31st, correct? Need a motion and a second.
I so approve.
Second.
Any further questions? Linda?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Mary Ann?
Yes.
And Brian?
Yes.
And next, I need a motion. Well, I'm gonna let you talk about this
Let's
first.
talk about it. So we have a League of Cities annual conferences in Sioux City. That is the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday before September 23rd. Agenda packets are due out to the council that Thursday. So initially Aaron and I were both going to be attending this conference. So we would have had to put the agenda packet out Tuesday, which really is a short turnaround for anything that we have meaningful on the packet. The 23rd, 24th, and 25th, I will be at the ICMA annual conference in Pittsburgh. So I will be out of town for that conference. It's up to the council how you would like to proceed. If you'd still like the meeting on the 23rd, we can definitely do that. If you'd like to move the meeting back to the 30th, because we do have 5 Mondays this month, we can do that. It gives us a little bit more time to put things together. Erin, I understand now, is not attending the League of Cities conference because she doesn't trust me away from town. Witnesses. No, because of instances here, so she will not be going. But it depends on how the council would like to do this. This is just a request to the council, but if the council wishes to do so, would be a required motion to do so.
Mayor,
I would make a motion to change it to the 30th.
I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Marianne?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
And Brian?
Yes.
All right, so it'll be on the 30th.
So the 23rd, June 9/11.
Okay,
Yeah, right.
we'll take that. All right, and then, update on the nuisance properties.
RJ sent that over, it's in your packet, I do note. I don't know what's going on with the deceased owner on the 405 grant, I truly don't know if they've opened an estate or if he's had anybody to contact. If no one's opened an estate, then we'll have to figure out how we want to do it. I didn't talk to RJ, heard I was coming and told me to cover the hearing in Hopkinton this afternoon, so I ran out before I talked to him. But the others appear to be, I don't know whether what the city's done as far as abating the 421 South Madison. We have the authority to come on and do that. City can do that and charge it to the property. I don't know if that's been.
That has not been done yet. We will get the staff lined up to have a figure.
Any questions? All right, we will move on. Engineering updates. Who do we have here tonight? Do we have any?
Brian and Jason.
I saw Ryan, man, I didn't see Jason. Okay, but if you want to go first,
In
Jason?
the corner.
He was hiding in the back corner.
Really, the only thing I have, this evening is a Commerce Court project. The underground work is complete. We started placing the 3-inch road rock here today. We should hopefully have all the sub base in place, later this week. At that point, it may sit for a week or two until, Chick-fil-A's paving crew gets freed up. Off another job they're coming from, but we're still looking, well to have end of this month, have concrete in out there. Everything seems to be going well at this point. So if there's any questions that anybody has, I can answer those.
You'll update regarding, Mr. Hillebrand subdivision.
So Mr. Hildebrand's been working on pouring curb and gutter and working on getting the street paved up in the cul-de-sac, working his way out. At this point, I believe it's still his intention for that to be concrete. He's gonna be working here over the course of the next couple, 3 weeks to get that completed. He still does have the option to do asphalt if he so chooses, but at this point, he's still holding on to doing that as concrete out there. But he can go either way with that. Curb is placed on both sides of the street out there. It's just a matter of getting the main driving lights wrapped up out there. Yeah, he's understands he needs to get that done. Yeah, this point.
Yeah, okay.
So.
Okay. Any other questions for Jason? All right, thanks, Jason. Ryan?
Good evening, just a few things on East Main Street. There's a few punch list items for the contractor to finish up. We've talked to them about seeding and weeds out there, so we've asked them to take a look at that with their seeding contractor again. We do have, we'll have another partial passment after they get their punch list done, and we'll have semifinal, and we're going through the DOT audit process. So notice on our ad invoice 60%, so that remaining 40 is the closeout work with the DOT and the audit. We will have a few observation hours with materials. Austin is doing some gradation testing on samples that were collected throughout the construction on aggregates. So there'll be some hours there with the punch list, but other than that, we're gonna push hard to try to get that closed out with DOT, hopefully by the end of the calendar year.
Okay. Any questions for Ryan? All right, thank you, Ryan. All right.
Well, normally I don't have anything, but since we had the airport lease, the hangar lease. I'm gonna give you just a little background, kind of go back what we had talked about, just to remind you. The lease that we were talking about with Mr. Hill was signed in 2006, and it was leased to Ultralight Aircraft of Iowa. And, Mr. Hill formally dissolved that in 2019, at which time, corporation should have assigned or transferred or tried to deal with their stuff, which would include the lease. There's no time deadline on when they can do that. So they can assign it now, they can ask to assign it now. But the lease terms on paragraph 11 say that they cannot transfer or assign the lease without the written consent of the city. And it actually says any attempt to assign it without that is void and grounds for terminating the lease. I'm not saying we should terminate the lease, but I'm just pointing out that that's in the lease. So you have the right to review this, whether or not to approve the assignment. At the meeting, Mr. Hill indicated that, the hangar was not being used to store his aircraft. That would be a violation of paragraph 10 of the lease. That continues, because it does say that the owner, it would have owner occupied aircraft. There's been some other questions, and then there's a lot of provisions in our lease talk about you have to comply with things that help with the development of the airport, cooperate with those things. My recommendation is not to prohibit the assignment. It's more along the lines of, I would suggest, my suggestion is you approve the assignment, but we have the new lease include the terms you have in all of your leases now. This is, I mean, we don't have to assign, let's update it. And that your other leases just have more specifics of compliance with FAA rules and guidelines. I don't think that's not a dangerous thing, but I think we also need to clarify that you can't, that our agreement of the assignment does not condone or approve the prior violations of the lease, and we retain the right to enforce all of the terms of the lease as written. And that I would send a notice, I plan to send a notice to Mr. Hill, just letting him know that at this time, the council has not approved or failed to approve the assignment because we haven't acted on it. But you would have the right to use this breach as to say you want to terminate the lease. That would be a ground you could argue. All in all, that's not, I would recommend as a good use of everybody's resources, but you could, and I'm not elected, so you could choose to do whatever you want. But I do think we've gone since 2019 without having clarified who even was the lessee. And insurance and other issues can be an issue. We've now discovered violations of the lease. I think we're well within our rights to ask to, when we approve the assignment, to just update the terms. You could ask to update the rent too, but in the whole scheme of things, I'm not sure that really matters that much. But that's what I see. I do think you have grounds to say no. I think you should. The better judgment legally would be to agree to the assignment and just update the terms.
Does he have to still have his own personal aircraft? Or
Yeah,
can he-
I wouldn't change the terms of the lease.
Can he sublease it then if he doesn't?
It says in there, in the lease we have, it says the owner has to have personal aircraft there. It actually says stored got a lot of copies, but I believe it's paragraph 10. It says hangar space shall be used for housing aircraft belonging to the lessee.
But you can, so.
I,
Can't sublease.
per the lease, can boats be stored in these hangars?
Can
Can they store boats in the hangars? Or is it just for?
I didn't look for that. I don't
Because there
know.
might be others that-
From storing some things, as long as you stored a plane in it. You have to store aircraft in it.
Right.
Lease requires that. And I don't think the lease envisions using this as a storage unit for other things, but I would have to look to see if you could.
Okay, could you?
Yeah, I mean, I just,
So if we go to update this lease, it still says that he has to have a based aircraft or own an aircraft that is in the hangar.
that's the lease he signed. If he wants out of his lease, he can, but I wouldn't recommend that you remove terms from the lease that you signed.
Right, so with that being said, if we renew this lease,
I'm not redoing it. We're just agreeing to let it be assigned with the new terms being added that are just compliance with. There's just a lot of provisions like sufficient fire extinguishers, things
right,
like that.
well, I guess what I mean by renewing it, if we allow the lease to continue to be carried by Mr. Hill, then he'd still be in violation of the current terms of the lease because he does not have his own aircraft in there,
He would
correct?
need to bring himself into compliance.
So as,
If he's not able to comply, then maybe he doesn't want it assigned.
I guess where I look at it from is I just. With my own storage units that we have terms because of insurances and stuff like that. So if I have somebody that tells me that I'm going to store something in my storage units that I know they cannot do. Because of my insurance, I don't give them. The storage unit. So if the terms cannot be upheld properly. Should we even renew a lease with somebody that is not going to be able to use it for what it's supposed to be used for? Because,
I would give him the opportunity to comply with the lease. But I wouldn't see why you would change the terms of the lease.
right, so with the terms, he's not meeting the terms as it is right now, is what I mean.
Right.
So,
You can give them an opportunity.
Yeah,
Give them
but
time-
you
You get a
have to
time
give him
frame to do
reasonable
that. Yeah.
opportunity
Right.
to comply. I'm not trying to, I wouldn't recommend a gotcha kind of thing.
right, and I don't wanna get into that game either, but.
Nobody does.
We would have to, I guess, as a council, decide what would be a reasonable amount of time for him to get into the proper terms to obtain this lease.
Those would all be things is whether or not you choose to allow the assignment.
Right.
You know, because it does have to be approved by the council, and there are reasons why I'd have to have it in there, just like that. And it would give Mr. Hill the opportunity to decide whether he wants to bring it into compliance. Maybe he'd rather walk from the lease, I don't know. But the assignment of it doesn't change the terms.
Right.
Any other further questions for Jim, or did you have anything?
That's,
I wonder if you get an update on the property sale stuff,
on the what?
property sale bond.
Oh, no one has heard back, and I did finally ask employers just to give me a bond. And I haven't heard back from that either,
That's for the 108.
for the real estate.
108, and then we have a couple other properties that
Right.
need it, but like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to do.
Thank
I
you.
only feel good about my ignorance because it's joined by a lot of smarter attorneys who
Thank
don't have the answer.
thank you, Jim. Tim?
At the last council meeting, we did have some reverberation or echo during the segment of our council meeting. Looked into it a little bit, contacted Meeting Owl, who has the stuff here. What they suggest I look into is what do we have for sound deadening in the room? Maybe there's too much of an echo. Where the placement with the cameras and the microphones to pick things up. So if you notice tonight, I did rearrange things. We're gonna try this one differently. The other item is if there's elevated voices, that might have caused an issue as well. So we're still troubleshooting it. If we can't figure it out, we may have to have someone that installs sound and AV equipment in a room and have them look at what we do here and try to resolve it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, Aaron?
Nothing.
Okay, Brian? Linda? Marianne? Doug? Bill?
That would be nothing at this time here.
Excuse me, Ms. Ex-fireman, do you have an announcement to make?
Oh,
I forgot to call Ed. Did they get the answer?
Yes,
It is done?
it is done.
So the State Iowa Firemen's Association will be coming here in September of 2026.
yes.
So, only 1 year?
Yeah,
One year.
she walked out.
1 year, just 1 year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably good.
I just
I will
saw
call-
Kevin walk out. He didn't want to make the announcement.
Iowa Falls just got done with 3 years, but yes, I unfortunately wasn't able to contact any of the guys. We did help with the hospitality, and it's amazing. We were in the middle of the state this year. How many people want to come back to Manchester? They love our fairgrounds, they love our town, they loved our hospitality, so. Yeah, they'll probably try to convince us for 5 years, but there is
Old firm.
talk of possibly Old so,
Oh.
which would be neat, so.
Okay,
Other than that, no, that's all I got.
wonderful. All right, I have nothing for tonight either. So we thank you all for being, questions, gentlemen.
Oh, they're like.
Who would like to go first?
Okay, so.
Wait a
Could you
minute.
stand, please?
You gotta stand and ask this guy, come over here to the podium.
And now you're on TV, you can actually prove you're right.
Okay, so I wanted to ask about 310 the conditional use, permit for the electronic messaging sign. Have you always needed a permit for use of an electronic messaging sign?
Yes.
Yes, we've always required that because of the technology changes. And part of the issue you run into is if it gets too bright at night, it can be one, it's a distraction potential for drivers, but two, if it's too bright, it can potentially blind at night too.
You guys said it was really bright.
Mhm.
Yeah, all right, well, that's all I really had to ask.
Okay, thank you.
Do you know a rough estimate when East Main Street's gonna be done?
It's,
Brian.
where are you?
It's open.
It's open. You were on the west end of town.
But wait, there's more. There's more. It's not accepting it. No, we've got to go through a process, with an audit with the Iowa DOT. That usually takes us, well, hopefully just a few months.
Well, and aren't we doing an overlay, mill and overlay yet too?
Yes, and
Still a
that's,
city project.
that's looking to be done at the end of September, first part of October.
Okay, all right. So there's your answer. Okay. All right, with that, I'll take a motion from Bill, a second from Joe, that we are adjourned, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful